If it's the same stream though, we'll look after and see if there are like two videos. I have no idea. But yeah. I mean, I'll record. Whatever happened, I'll record too.
Okay. Okay, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is our last installment of the Thrive by Design series. This is where we are journeying into the 9 centers of the human design body graph. We call it Thrive by Design because when we can come into each of these centers, get them operating at their most efficient, they start to work together, move together in wholeness, in totality. And here we start to thrive versus survive. And survival comes in these centers when we're operating in the not self. So here we are opening the head hub. We call these hubs because they are gathering points for the archetypes that we've created with our 64 doors. So within the head hub, we have 3 archetypes located here. So today we're going to be journeying and unlocking this hub. Is there anything you want to put in the circle or say as we're opening up this very last episode, I guess?
Just on webinar hygiene. So if you're on, make sure that you write to everyone in the chat, not just hosts and panelists. And there was one more thing I thought about. Yeah, use the Q&A for questions if you have questions that you want us to get to at the end, because we probably won't get to them at the rate of like what you're asking. And also make sure that you don't use the Q&A for conversation with us. If you want to write to only me and Ashley for something, use hosts and panelists so that we only have questions at the end when we go to the Q&A.
Everybody's saying that the chat is disabled. Weird stuff happening with the technology today, I think. We're in the head hub. So apparently we've got confusion, psychosis, and doubt. Are we live? Are we not live? What's happening? I'm so confused. Why is the chat not here?
So when I write to everyone, that works, but you can't write back to me. We have the same Zoom room that we had all the time. So it's weird that anything would have changed.
I feel like this is divinely orchestrated, and let's just see what is the purpose of this all. It's probably for the archetypes that we're going into. We can be a detective with the 63 and go figure out what is wrong with this. What is the truth? Is there something that was switched off? Or yeah, all is well. Let's just roll with it. So please use the Q&A section for questions. Maybe it's just telling us like we don't need to share all of our thoughts. We don't need to share all of our thoughts. I don't know. Oh, it's so funny. Let's go into it. Okay. We can only laugh about it.
I'm so curious. I can't really stop. Like, I'm so curious to see.
Are you trying to investigate? Here's where these archetypes, the archetypes are coming through us. This is the last one. Remember I said we have the detective. That's archetype 63. Goes from doubt to truth through the pathway of inquiry. Bella's in inquiry process right now. What happened? What's going on? She's using the detective skills. The second one is the mystic. I'm like, oh, it must be the powers that be. Like, what's happening? Why? It's also the question of why. Why is this happening? Why is the chat not disabled? What's going on here? Psychosis can be the looping of what is going on. We have psychosis to sanctity through the pathway of inspiration. Like I said, the mystic archetype. And then the third one is the artist. And this goes from confusion to illumination through the pathway of imagination. And when we don't have all the details, sometimes imagination can even be psychosis because we may make up all these stories when we don't have the truth, when we don't have what is actually happening. And, like, oh my God, my boyfriend's not texting me back. I wonder, and it's 10 at night. I wonder who he's with. I wonder what's happening. Or did he die on his way back home? It's like we make up all these stories and it may not even be related to the truth. So, yeah. Thank you, archetypes, for coming in hot and heavy today with us. So I hope they continue to show up. Also, the purpose of, like I said, the Thrive by Design series, we're moving up through the body graph from the root to the head. There's something really important about reaching the head after we've gone through all of these. It's about connecting the crown to the root. It's not about being floating away into the cosmos, floating away into psychosis, confusion, and doubt. It's about being grounded and rooted in the body, in the present, in the now. And yeah, some of these energies are very destabilizing because it's a pressure center. And here we have the pressure of anxiety coming in here, where the root is the pressure of stress. So thank you, archetypes, for this teaching opportunity and for really showing up today. So I appreciate you. Bella, are you present? What's going on? What are you looking for?
I think it's the Zoom thing. It was updated because it says hosts and panelists and attendees using an older version of Zoom will be asked to update their clients to the latest version. So there is something where it said that participant can only send, couldn't. So I maybe check if it worked, or actually, let me do it one more time to see. Now it says that everybody can chat with everyone. Do you have that, or didn't it come through for this one? Still doesn't. Let's see the Q&A.
No.
Still disabled. Well, so maybe then it is.
It's okay. Let's let it go. Let's let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. It's psychosis. Let's just let it go. It is insanity. Okay. Let's move on to Thrive by Design. So here we go. So this is the key for the head hub, which is also kind of connected to the crown in a way. Like I said, it's very important to connect the root to the crown. It's not good to just be floating away in your mind. We want to connect back into our body. We want the energy to flow through all of these centers. Thriving is about wholeness. Surviving really pushes us up into the head and the ajna, and we start to lose our ability to be in the now, because the mind is solution oriented. It can't be in the now. It's like, okay, let's ruminate in the past or in the future or whatever. The only reason it goes there is because it finds something wrong with the now, and then it wants to find the solution for it, or it wants to recant something, or it wants to, whatever it is. It's a tool. It's not an authority. And I remember when we went into the Ajna hub, that was a very interesting energy to go into. And I reflecting, I told Bella, I was like, I didn't like that. I didn't like going into the Ajna hub. It wasn't fun for me. It felt really mental. And to kind of learn from that, coming into the head hub, we have a lot of these energies. My head center is completely open. So to witness the doubt, the confusion, and the psychosis, and the portal to imagination, inspiration, and inquiry. There's portals here, and we can feed into whichever one we want. If you have any definition, that's going to be your route of entry, and it'll be where you find yourself entering the mind and looping and all of that stuff. But no things can be solved through the mind. It's about thinking outside of the box and allowing for divine inspiration and the truth to emerge and come through in these different portals. So here we have, this spark of inspiration, this spark of imagination, this spark of inquiry that leads us down the road to truth and sanctity and illumination. But that stuff does not come in the realm of the mind. It comes through the divine, in my opinion. Anything you want to put into the circle? I feel like you keep saying put into the circle. Do you want to put anything into the circle, Bella?
I feel that the contrast here is that there are only 3 gates. So it's the least complex of all the centers. It only has 3 gates. And it kind of tells us to not just be so much up here, I guess. And that we have those 3, again, we often speak about the circuitry. So we have the individual circuitry in the middle. It's about personal empowerment. And then we have the collective circuitry on both sides. The 64 is the abstract, more right brain, more creative. And the 63 is the logical, so more left brained. And we don't have anything tribal in the head. And that's something to maybe ponder upon, and something we could go deeper into in the actual teachings. But it's not, I feel like what coming through for me today is more the gene key perspective, almost in the human design. We'll go into the mechanics and deeper into the circuitry as well in the intensive next week. really now I feel it's about even the key that you were showing, Ashley, that everything spirals up in a way. And more than anything, this is our lotus that's connected to the crown, that's connected to the great mystery. And that great mystery is the same as our inner truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that sometimes we're like, oh, do I go inwards or do I go to God? Like where do we find? And at the end of the day, I feel the head center is that connection point, and it doesn't matter. It's inside of you, and it's also an inspiration that you can connect to in the field around you.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's officially get into this and unlock it. So like Bella mentioned, next week we're going to do an intensive. So this whole program, the whole Thrive by Design program, is brought to you by the Inner Circle. The intention behind this program is to be able to utilize it as a foundational resource and material for people that want to learn the Bridging the Gap method with Unlock Your Design. So we're here taking people through this in the Inner Circle, and we're going to expand upon it and perfect it and bring in another experience and journey that's more in-depth, that's more intensive, with people that want to really dive into not only the mechanics of it, but like the energetics and the embodiment part of it, because it's one thing to know these things, and again, this is probably why it's coming through in the head center. It's one thing to know them, and it's another thing to walk it and live it in your life. You can understand it all you want, but unless you've let it pass down through your head and your ajna and get into your actual body and get into the rhythm of it, then you're not really going to be truly walking it, embodying it. You're going to be just having a mental concept of it. And it's easy to make these systems a mental experience, especially if you're prone or predisposed to be a little bit mental. This is where you'll kind of land. But the minds can be a portal. Just like if you are really curious about the pearl sequence in the gene keys, it can be a portal. These paths are always going to lead you to where you need to go. And we have to trust, too, that divine inspiration and divine intervention will come in at any time to bring us to where we need to be. So next week, we're going into the Head Hub with the Inner Circle. If you are interested in joining that, you can continue with us. Go to the bit.ly/UID-IC. If you type in the code community, you're going to get 50% off. So if you already know that you want to do this, hop on over and sign up for that and get into the Facebook group. We're going to be starting that intensive next Monday through the week. And we'll be doing an embodiment webinar or embodiment meeting where we're going to kind of get into the body with this. And then we're going to have chart readings. We're going to have a teaching as well. We'll really go in depth with this. And I'm sure we're going to go really deep. There's only 3 gates here, so we have a lot of time to cover a lot of the nuances of this center. Yeah. So let's unlock the hub together. Okay. How do you want to start? Where do you want to go?
So maybe we do start with the archetypes, or if you want to start with the frequency band, if that's coming up on the slide, we could go there.
I don't have the frequency band. We usually do it in the teaching. But let's talk a little bit about inspiration and sense making and why maybe those are the keywords here. Why are those the themes of the Head Hub?
Yeah, so that does go to the archetypes. And I would say we start often with the narrow and then we go outward. So here the narrow would be the 61, which is the individual and the empowerment of the individual and the inspiration of the individual. And here I do definitely feel that it both takes that inspiration from inside the body, actually, from that pulse that comes from the 360, and it can connect out to the great mystery. I felt, for me, I feel when I started to do the medicine wheel work with all the animals, and a little bit different than the dream arc, but more the shamanistic way, that's where I felt, oh, it's the same field out there through the white bull and all the different archetypes, and then that I could feel inside of myself, or even in symbolism. So inspiration that in a human design sense would be just kind of comes in unexpectedly as a pulse, as an insight, and travels down, and I definitely feel it can travel up. And then the broadening of this is the sense making. And so then what we were saying before, you have the abstract sense making in the 64 that looks back and makes sense of what's happened through seeing the patterns of things. and the 63, which is the logical sense making, that makes sense of what's on the table kind of thing, and propels us into the future in doing things in patterns that are more constructive maybe than how we have done them before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Bale said, it's looking for the patterns, and here it's reflecting on the cycles, and often these cycles are very emotional in a way too, because it's having these experiences through the emotional realm in the sensing circuit, where maybe the 63 is a little bit more logical and working towards a rhythm that is best for the collective, a way of being. If you have your body graph available, let us know the 64, the 61, the 63. What do you have defined? Is your head center defined, or is it undefined? So
You can use the Facebook chat if you have the Facebook video up and the chat doesn't work in the webinar.
yeah. Yeah. So again, I think that with going into these, I want to get a little bit practical, because we can learn about all of the details and minutia of these archetypes, but I think I'm going to stop sharing. I think what's important is these are all inner archetypes within you. We have the detective, we have the mystic, we have the artist, and whether you have them defined or not, you're going to interact with them in your life. The transits are going to bring them to you. It's about coming into wholeness with yourself. So if you have a little bit of resistance to any of the archetypes, it's an opportunity to explore. It's an opportunity to see what are you rejecting about them. And Bella and I have created the 64 doors so that you can come into commune and into commune with these archetypes. And you can go onto our website and read the description of the artist, read the description of the mystic, and read the description of the detective, and see kind of as a theme for this month, whether you join the inner circle or not, tune into yourself and ask, what archetype wants to meet me right now? And just walk with them and see what wants to come through. Richard Rudd was inspired to bring through the gene keys. Ra Uru Hu was delivered, it almost feels like obligated to bring through human design. We all are met with the divine, and there is a key we each hold, and we each have our divine spark, our divine creativity, and you can meet these archetypes, and you may bring through a different experience with them than Richard does, than Ra does, and they're bringing it through their vessel, and you have your own way of being. Like Ra is a different person than Richard is, and you're a different person than both of them are, and you can always plug into these archetypes and bring through the truth for you. And the 61 is individual, like Bella said. It's about inner truth. It's not about looking to another to be like, what's my truth? What is here for me? It's about having that individual connection and inspiration that comes from you, from the divine, from yourself. And we can utilize the other archetypes, right? The past direction of the artist that is kind of working through the jumble of images with the alchemists together to create the bigger puzzle piece, the bigger puzzle, putting that together. Nobody else can make that puzzle for you. They may see pieces of it, but you have the totality of it. You have all of them together. And sometimes we misplace a piece of the puzzle because it's too hard for us to look at. We're like, oh, I don't even want to see that part. And that's fragmenting. So let's bring them back into wholeness so you have the whole puzzle piece or picture. And then with the other side of it, the detective, like when we're in doubt, doubt breeds doubt. Doubt also breeds truth, because when you get into inquiry, you're elevating the frequency of doubt, and you're moving forward to collect evidence that's going to help you find the truth. But if you stay in doubt, in the frequency of doubt, you're just going to get more doubt. Doubt, 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 doubt. It's just going to amplify. But when you shift into an open curiosity of maybe what the truth is, you're going to get to have the different pieces. Or like with the artist, you can be in confusion and oppression and never really understand what the bigger picture is, because you could have really emotional, traumatic experiences, And to go back them and relive them, you can just re-traumatize yourself. But when you approach it with that transmutation and that and imagination, maybe you're going to see something you didn't see before. Maybe you're going to see what the ultimate purpose was, what the medicine of that experience was, and you're going to see it with new eyes and a new perception. So it does not oppress you anymore. It actually liberates you to help you be like, oh wow, I don't ever have to relive this because I feel empowered. I know that I've got myself the next time this happens. It's not like I'm going to be like, no, I can't do this again because I know it's going to end like this. You have an open-heartedness about life where you're like, I can handle any experience. And I know that even if I'm in the storm, there's medicine. And so you're not afraid of the storm. This one doesn't feel like there's a lot moving in it. It almost feels like simple and to the point. We make it complicated, don't we? Not us, but like humanity. We make things complicated.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about the body graph somehow, and that if you have an open ajna, you also have an open head. So if you don't have a fixed way of conceptualizing things, you also don't have a fixed way of taking in information, of taking in inspiration. But you could have an ajna that's connected to the throat center that's defined and still have an open head center. So I guess that means that you have a way of conceptualizing and like kind of getting to an answer that's fixed, the way in how you do it. But the things that actually come in, that's not fixed, that you're going to hear what other people think and all that. So maybe I think it's kind of important to say, how much time do we spend thinking about things that don't matter? And I think worry, it's a really important thing here as well. Like, how much time do we spend going over things that then actually, and how often is that something that is triggered from the outside and not really an inside inquiry? What did we have? I can't remember. Well, what are the percentages? Let me go back and see. Do you remember, Ashley? Defined and undefined?
No, because this isn't the teaching webinar, Bella. But it doesn't matter. You guys can look it up anyways. I think
that 30%. So 70% are sampling from everything, all the confusion, all the doubt, and all the psychosis out there. We're sampling, and then it goes round and round and round. So what is it? What was it called? The term that came out last year? Mass formation psychosis. Yeah, that's what lives here.
That's what lives here. You know, and do you guys remember? I don't know if you were in the field of this, but do you remember? There's this saying. It's like idle hands are the devil's playground. Well, and in the beginning of this call, I was like, we can make up all these kinds of stories for what's going behind the scenes, but we don't really have all the facts or the details for the truth. I remember when COVID first started and people had to stay in their homes and masks and all that stuff, all this crazy stuff was coming out. Like the underground was coming out about like, doing things with children and like all this crazy stuff, like behind the scenes of who these people really are. And like, I don't know, I don't want to name names or anything like that, but it's crazy. And did we have any proof? No, we had this white rabbit we were following, which was like, oh, mass psychosis. Let's follow the white rabbit into the hole of doom. And here's where everyone's lying to us. It's like, we all went exactly where the psychosis wanted us to. And maybe it created inspiration for other people. Sometimes we go down the rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland, right? And we experience all these things because we have to go into the darkness to kind of have our hero's journey. And sometimes it takes that to wake people up. And I feel like even the darkness that comes, even the things that shock us, like it's here for our awakening, and it's divinely orchestrated, whether we experience it as dark and evil or not. It's just here for us. And I think that what comes into the head center, it's your reaction to it that comes and creates these formulas inside of our ajna, and then our thoughts can trigger emotions. If we're invested in what we're thinking and what we're receiving, then it's going to create an emotional response to it. Maybe we get excited. Maybe we get scared. If we get scared, we go on this rabbit hole of looping and we try to I think the real thing is we can't be with our emotions, so we try to solve things with our mind because we can't sit with our emotions. So whether you're excited or inspired or scared, oh, I don't like feeling scared. Or I don't like feeling like this person is taking advantage of me or betraying me or cheating on me or something, and then we go into psychosis of it because we want to not feel that feeling anymore. Or why did they stop talking to me? Or why are they not my friend? Or and then we try to solve it because we can't sit with it. It's like, what are you worrying about right now? Everybody has something they're worrying about. Everybody. We're human. You can't say that you don't worry about anything. I know that you worry about something. Whether it's small or big, worry is something that is just like, it comes into our mind. It's also our self-preservation mechanism. It's here for us to survive. It's part of our instinct. Oh, that's off. It just depends on how you take that and how you run with it. Right? But we're here to discern what's right, what's wrong. That's all our mind is doing. What's right, what's wrong, what's off, what's on, what's light, what's dark.
Yeah, and maybe it's a little bit more, yeah, it's definitely about answers here too in the head. And maybe when it comes to kind of the conclusion, it's more the ashna, but definitely we're looking for answers in the head. And I feel when you were speaking, Ashley, I think it's important to just again repeat, this is a pressure center. So we are human being, and we're kind of pressure cooker. We have pressure from the root center and we have pressure from the head center, and in between everything else, all the other 7 centers exist. And I actually feel that the head pressure can be more uncomfortable even than the root pressure, because remember, the root is a motor. So you have pressure there, and you also have energy. So that fuel that you feel, the pressure that you feel, it has different outlets, and that's what we were going into with all of the gates in the root center. The head is no motor, and there is no, as you know as well, inner authority there. So the pressure up there, it can't really do things in the same way that a motor can move you. So it kind of just stays there and ruminates. And that's why I guess we don't really get out of it and rid of it. And both the head and the ajna, I feel, are connected to the whole meditation. And we were speaking with somebody today, me and Ashley, and I don't believe that it's always meditation that is the way for everyone to quiet the mind. I don't. And in the ajna center, we were saying that maybe for open ajnas, meditation is easier because we don't have consistency in thoughts. And I think that there are many ways of looking at it. I have felt with a lot of years in vipassana and, like, sitting silence meditations for days and days, I don't feel like it's the feminine way. It's not the tantric way. It's the feminine in all of us. She actually loves to move. She loves to feel into the form. And the more she connects into the form, the more she actually is not stuck at all in her mind or in the questioning or in the finding the answers and the pressure to find the answers. So in that sense, I also almost feel like that could be contrary to the feminine side of each one of us. And the masculine, on the other hand, I do believe that to find that still presence, I think about archetype 20 here, the tranquil is actually in the throat. But that is that presence of being in the now and just allowing whatever is there in the now, to be aware of it, but not necessarily become the one that's chasing his own tail, if you want.
I feel like each of the archetypes, like when you're talking about the 20, I also thought about the 2. It's like receiving everything and it's accepting it. You can learn from each of the archetypes how to be with yourself. Like the 52 is the mountain, and it's the center of the spiraling weather around it. It's going to be strong, it's going to be stable, it's going to be secure. Maybe it is going to be in stillness, in meditation, and all of life is this like walking meditation for this person. But I really do feel like those of you that have like the more active and maybe the sacral gates or the 34, the Black Panther, she will need to be in movement. She is not going, if she needs to rest, she's going to rest, but it's more active. And I think that there's a balance, and it's about finding your unique balance inside of you, what works for you, and not going into the extreme of just this, because that's imbalance. That's not balance. And we may have our preference because it may be deeply uncomfortable for us to move or to express, and it's easier for us to just sit in stillness or like draw, like do the quiet activities like coloring and drawing and being really quiet, and that's fine. But there's also a balance of when can you be expressed? When can you be in movement? Breath, movement, and sound are so important to the human experience. And I know it's the core principles in Tantra, right, Bella? Like, how do we become fully expressed? The whole, I feel
And
like,
that's it is about authenticity too, because if you can't lie that way with breath, movement, and sound. It's actually the way it comes out. The way that we can speak language possibly can be like a politician. We say what we need to say, but if you have to engage with breath, movement, and sound in life or in lovemaking or in any situation, it's very much, it's more difficult to be something you aren't. And I think part of that, the movement is part of the body language, and we know that we convey much more through body language than actually through the words that we're saying.
yeah, exactly. And that's why people can really, it's not even about listening to the words they're saying. It's about looking at how their eyes are moving, or how they're sitting, their posture, their breath pattern. Are they sweating? What's happening? Because the like Bella said, the body can't lie. And that's, and also, it doesn't matter what, like, if you're taking from here and bringing it to here, it has a different energy than bringing it from your body and out. You can tell when something is grounded, embodied, versus like, oh, I heard this and meh, meh, meh. It doesn't even feel like it. They own it. And you can also tell when people are lying, because you can feel something is off. We need to know that it's not about the things people say or try to convince us that seems logical. It's not just logical. It's also, what do you feel intuitively? What is being said versus what do you feel? How are you receiving that? Because we're plugged in. We're not just plugging into the mind and the throat. That's not it. It's like all of those centers in our body graph, depending on your openness and your definition, you're receiving life in those ways. So don't discount the other places that you have openness that you're receiving life into. Don't just try to go. We're taught and conditioned to just go into our mind. And our mind is deceiving in a way. Because you want to bring the evidence from the totality of your being, not just from the only your head.
And I'm feeling too that we are conditioned to like to have the logical answers. And I have felt it with a few people in my life, that I feel were definitely at a higher awareness level, that have the 4 and the 63, that a part of me felt like I wanted to depend on them. Like, I'm gonna like check this answer with this person. Like Simone, for example, who worked with us, we would often like have her, even if she did it in an intuitive way with a pendulum or muscle testing, it was always like, okay, let's ask Simone, let's see if this is the highest good. And it was like almost like her answer was weighing more, and that was very powerful. It's the 63 is part of, I think it's her purpose or her life's work. It's her life's work, I guess. And then another person who actually he has both sides, but very, very defined head and ajna, with both the abstract and the and the logical. And it's this thing, like, you kind of feel like you need him by your side. And I know it's conditioning, but it's there because we kind of like the people that always have the answers, and there's no doubt about it, and there's logical underpinning. So to kind of also just be aware of that, and that's again what you're saying, Ashley. Come back to the body, come back to, for me, it felt more juicy in the beginning of those centers, the sacral and even the root and the embodiment calls. Now we have an embodiment call in the intensive, and we were like even what do we do in the embodiment call? Because here we are kind of, if we're speaking sometimes about the density, this is definitely the most subtle. And the pineal gland, which is the biological correspondence here, that was thought to be the connection to the soul. I think it was Descartes. I don't even know how you say the philosopher. I don't know how you say in English his name, but I think he said that it was the human's connection to the soul, and that he thought that other animals and humans didn't have that, and there was something special with us. And I think now we know more about the brain, but whatever he knew or didn't know about the brain, there's something really subtle here, and it feels like it's more about the crown and the connection to something more than just, it's not the third eye. It's definitely beyond the third eye in an energetical sense here in the crown. And it's subtle. So it doesn't really matter that we are separate bodies. It's in the subtleties of, again, going back to the thoughts, and the thoughts that can actually touch a whole collective at the same time.
Yeah, and the crown isn't even, and I think in the body graph too, like it's not all the way in the physical body. That's not where the crown sits. And so I think that to be able to access the crown, we need to be anchored in the root. We need to be anchored into the places that are inside of our body, because
To
that's
show
our
the key
grounding.
again, or do you guys remember the key? Because the key is kind of conveying that in an amazing way.
Yeah.
Even kind of with the flower of life on the top.
And I didn't create that with my mind. I didn't. I sat down, and when I didn't get any more, I left it. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I knew exactly. I feel like my soul was like, this is the one you need. And you need this thing here. And I was like, okay, is this it? They're like, yep, don't do anything else here. I was like, okay, this is it. So I feel like with this center, we can learn so much from it, because we can connect. Not only we have that connection to ourself, don't disconnect that, and we have our connection to the divine, and we have our connection to the collective. There's so much here. There's depth and breadth. There's so much, and we can get so confused in all of it, because there's so much to be connected here. This is what's going to connect us to our oneness too.
Yeah, and I might interpret this wrong, so I'm going to say that before, but what I do know is that the pineal gland is connected to melatonin. And what it felt like as I was tuning into it is that as long as we are part of the 3D matrix where there is day and night, because the earth is going around the sun, and all that, we have day and night, and we need to be able to be in light and then to sleep in the darkness. And what I know, when you go to dark room retreat, I think it's after 72 hours, or can be even, I guess it can be longer. But when we are in darkness all the time, we don't even need to produce some of those hormones. Our endocrine system is changing. And I guess that kind of being plugged into the 3D, and the fact that we're on this planet goes away. And then for anybody who has done a dark room retreat, you know that there are capacities that come through and other things when you don't have to kind of be plugged into this planet, to this matrix, to day and night. And I definitely feel that that has to do with the crown chakra and the capacity that we have to find the answers in the darkness when we don't have to be plugged into the matrix.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Can you walk with the darkness? Can you walk in the darkness? And I think that with our mind's ability to separate and be like right, wrong, good, bad, some people have a tendency to, how you're saying, like physically being in the dark, if you're in the dark for a really long time, your melatonin levels change, because your body is so intelligent. It's going to change the way that it produces things based on your environment, or even what you're giving to yourself. So if you... Yeah, there's so much. I feel like there's so much coming through here. I feel like my crown is being overwhelmed by stuff. But let me get back to what I was trying to say. The ability and choice to stay in the darkness, to stay in the trauma, to stay in that stuff, it's going to affect your internal abilities too. Like, not just your external darkness out here, like being in the dark. If you stay and play in the dark, then it's not balanced. There's a balance between light and dark here. If we have a preference and we don't have openness, then we are separating from a part of ourselves. I feel like this whole thing is we have the sense making and the inspiration that comes through here, but what happens when it goes into the ajna? It's about that conceptualization, but it's also it's about brain balance. And I feel like if we have a preference, it's not balanced. If we stay in the airy-fairy and not in our body, it's not balanced. If we stay in the light, it's not balanced. If we stay in the dark, it's not balanced. It's like, can you accept the totality of everything? It can get really overwhelming up in here, so our mind is like, choose a side. But we don't need to choose any sides. And can you have peace with what, like, you have everything you need right now. In this moment, life is going to bring to you exactly what you have inside of you, that you can handle it. So you don't need to search out answers. You don't need to talk to anyone else. You don't need to look in a book. There's nothing you need to do. You're capable in the now, because life has brought you what is aligned to you and for you. And I feel like all the answers are inside. So if you're meeting life and your mind is like, wait, we've never been here before, doesn't matter. There's an inner archetype within you that has. There's something that maybe wants to come to the surface that you've never brought. But you can tune into those, and it's like, just remember what you have inside of you. You've been having a preference your whole life. Bring in the totality and the wholeness of who you are. Let that come through you. Nobody else needs to teach you anything. We don't even need to go to school and learn things. I feel like school is damaging anyways. And this is coming from a person that went to college to become a teacher. an early education teacher for kindergarten through middle school. There's things that we need to learn through ourselves, and there's things we need to learn from the earth and nature, and there's things that we need to learn from each other. And I feel like the discernment is really important here as well. Yeah. Interesting. I like what's unlocking here. I'm going to take this down. Does anybody have any questions? Or Bella, do you feel like anything else is coming to you?
It's hard for me to hold back and not go into the juiciness of everything.
Oh, Bella.
I realize it's hard for me to not kind of weave in and out from the the teaching that we are going to do to like the inspiration that's there. I realize that.
Yeah.
Maybe it is an open head thing. I only have 2 gates in my head and my ajna together, only the 11 and the 61. So there are a lot of ideas, a lot of inspiration, and a lot that can be added and explored, I guess.
Yeah. And I feel like what also informs our head and our ajna is the other open centers we have. So it's like your open ego is doing something here too, and your open emotional is doing something here too. All of the openness is like when we feel the discomfort of like the questioning of ourself and our naturalness and what we're bringing, our mind starts to make up stories of what more can I do, or who do I need to be, or whatever the questions ends up being. When we start to doubt ourselves, that's when we start to like look outside for what else. And I felt so much emptiness in the center when we first started. I was like, I don't have anything. And then as things started to drop in, and as Bella started to talk, I like had something to respond to. What is going on with all of this? There's so much tech stuff going on right now. I've been trying to
like a cartoon on my screen. Like, it's super cool. You are like faded like a cartoon of yourself. Take a photo of this.
What is going on?
In a circle, because you're so beautiful. You look like a cartoon.
I don't know.
That was perfect.
I don't know. That's it. Oh my God. I'm like, I don't know. We're not supposed to know anything or be certain of anything if you have an open ajna. I don't know. And I don't care. I don't know. We can say that. 70% of the population, you don't need to know or be certain of anything. I don't know why the tech is doing this. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't even know. Yeah. It's empowering to be able to say that. If you have a defined head and ajna, you're the ones that are here to go to be certain of those answers. To have that inspiration and be certain. You're the ones to figure out the formula. Where everyone else is a little bit more open, and we don't have a set pattern or a set mental.
I wonder if most people are maybe some people, yeah, I think we have some people that are not in the inner circle. Are we gonna say to somebody that they can come in for months because we have like a little bit
if you want to, I wasn't planning on it, but you guys can come in for 50%.
Maybe you can raise your hand, and if you're not in the inner circle, and then we'll choose somebody, because I think I see at least a few people. Can you raise your hand? Okay, yeah, somebody raise your hand. So we're gonna well, like 3 people have raised their hands. 4 people raised their hands.
Why do you want to give away a month of the inner circle?
Because I want to.
Because why?
Why not?
Do you not know, or you're not certain? Okay, that's fine. I don't care. I'm just like, what are you feeling where you're like, I need to give away a month of the inner circle?
I want kinship and community, and I want new blood.
Oh my God, I'm scared for you guys. Yeah, I feel too. I want you, like, if you want to be in the inner circle, I don't want you to just.
Yeah, I think you have something to say here.
I do, because I'm like, why is she giving that away? And then I'm like, wait, whatever. My resistance to this is as I'm looking back, because I have abstract and I have logical circuitry in my head and my angel. I have nothing in my head. But what I'm feeling is, looking back, the people that we've given it for free, some people don't even claim it. I don't even see a lot of interaction with those people. Sometimes when you give things for free, people don't value it. And they're like, okay, whatever. And they don't
And sometimes when people pay, people don't value it. And then you're like, oh, I paid 2 years of this? What's wrong with me? That happens to me all the time. So it doesn't matter.
I guess it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is that, like, I've been focused on, like, the containers and the integrities of the containers now. And I'm like, don't you step through the door of my house if you're not going to do the work. I'm bringing to you this.
I know 2 people that I love in the inner circle that are so precious to me, and they came in on scholarships. And that's the 2 people that I think about, and they are here right now.
Oh, do you want to name them? Or no? Never mind.
Don't have to.
Don't name them. Okay. So what I'm saying is, for those of you that are interested in joining the inner circle and have raised your hand, keep your hand up if you're going to come in and you're going to commit to next week. And I want to feel your presence in there, because we're letting you in the house. Everybody's energy matters. We're all connected. We're connected together. So people are going to feel when other people are not interested or invested. You have to ask, why am I saying yes? What is my yes? What is my no? Right? And what's your come from? That's why I asked Bella, why are you giving the inner circle stuff for free? I wanted to know her come from. And with her response, I'm like, yeah, I see that. I see that as being part of who Bella is. But I had to ask it because we've given it away before for free. And then eventually I took the slide off because I'm like, are people really, does it matter if we give it for free? We can give everyone access to the inner circle for free. You know? Wait.
I don't know if Laura is here, but if she is, because she's a reflector, I would love her to say a number between.
I don't think she is. I don't see. Oh, wait, Laura.
Yeah,
Laura
here.
is here.
So would you say a number between 1 and 6, or write it in the Q&A, Laura, if you can, if you're not with your kids. I would like you to choose a number between 1 and 6. 3. Oh, that's cool, because both from one way, like, I'm like, maybe I should count from like Deborah to Lisa to Bailey to Mia to Rebecca to Lindsay, like from the back up. But it doesn't matter. It's still going to be
middle.
Bailey, because that's number 3 from the top and number 3 from the bottom, right? No, it's not.
It's Mia. I don't know if you see different than I see, but I see Lindsay, Rebecca, Mia, then Bailey and Lisa. So Mia's in the middle for me. Who's in the middle for you?
Well, I guess from the counting from down up is Bailey, and counting from up down is Mia.
Really? Oh yeah, I guess.
That's true.
Then Mia and Bailey get in.
Yeah, perfect. I got it even better for me.
You got it. I just need to know your come from, and my 5-1 needs to be like, here, this is the barrier of entry. This is you better come in and do. You better be with us. You better be with us.
You better be with us.
You better be with us. I don't know. You have a week. It's a week. Just give us a week. Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to all reflect on this later, but why am I having such a response to this? I don't know.
Thank you, Laura, for reflecting back what we needed to have reflected back, me and Ashley and everyone.
I love all these emojis too. That's so cool. Floating.
Let's always take this chat away, so the only people can do is to laugh and to laugh.
I like it better because, like, literally when you take away language.
Laugh, love, and celebrate. That's the only thing that I see.
Laugh, love, and celebrate. Isn't that the truth? I feel like let's take out the logical mind and bring in just the interpretive, abstract emojis, like, oh, look at those, like, well, somebody's surprised, like, I love all those. Like, oh my god, what if you couldn't speak for a day? How would you communicate? Let's try that exercise. We're gonna Bella talked about
I don't know how we would do it, because we're not even in the same place. Like, unlock your design would like dissolve.
Oh yeah, because we'd have to like not talk, and we can't even text each other either. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of rabbit holes that you can go on with. Like, what are you inspired with? Like, the Head Center's bringing these different portals. Do you want to investigate why the technology is being like that? Do you want to investigate what it would be to like not see or hear or talk? I feel like there's something with the senses, because Bella brought up the dark room, and then with all the emojis and people not being able to talk, we don't even get to hear your voice. You're writing in the Q&A, so there is like a rerouting that was happening. But I feel like, and we're in the, okay, this is why. The 56 is here. We're in transit of the 56, which is the comedian, and this is about the senses. And so what happens when one of the senses are removed? Something gets amplified as well. So I feel like when you abstain from talking, from seeing, from hearing, something else comes online. And I feel like maybe the crown, the head center, and the comedian, the 56, they're coming together to be like, try this out. See what happens when you take away one of your senses. How hard is it? What else comes online for you? Are you going to have to feel into things more? What's happening?
That's interesting, and I think it's connected to the brain as well. Like I ripped a nail off my hand a few weeks ago, and I couldn't really use that hand for a while. And it was, yeah, it really changed, and it was my right hand. So it really changed just how much you take for granted too, that you have a hand that works.
Why don't
Definitely.
we? You can also write with the other hand. I was just speaking to one of my close friends, my shaman, and she was talking about teaching children and stuff. She's like, why do we have to label ourselves as left-handed or right-handed? What if we just told our kids, oh, go ahead and keep working with both? You're both-handed. And when all the other people say, oh, I'm right-handed and left-handed, you don't need to buy into picking one side or what's more natural. We can be ambidextrous. And I feel like that's a balance. Even like going like this balances the hemispheres of the brain. I feel like the ajna and the head kind of come together. It's like you can't really, they are the mental realm. So they're kind of intertwined in a way. Because I keep talking about things that are related to the ajna.
Yeah, and pineal gland and pituitary gland, even
They're
just
close in the brain.
biologically, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, to be practical again, so being part of the inner circle means that you're part of a Facebook group where there is communication, community going on, and it also means that you're signed up to the academy where all the resources are, the replays of, for example, the intensive is going to be, and other things that we're going to do during the months. So what if Mia and Bailey write their emails in the Q&A? Is that the easiest way, or what's the easiest way? And I can find them. Yeah, write your email and your Facebook name so that I can search and put you to the group.
Yeah.
And Ashley probably is going to add you to the academy with your email address and send you an email.
Okay. My computer is not letting me screen
Let's
share.
see if I can at least take a picture once you have written your.
I'm getting this spinning rainbow wheel of death. It's like I was trying to share what's happening in the inner circle. So basically next week we're going to have the embodiment meeting where we're going to kind of move into the body and have like a felt sense of the head hub. We're going to do a teaching. We're going to do chart reading. So if you're new to the inner circle, we're going to have an opportunity to go into reading. So Bailey and Mia, you'll be able to put your charts in the inner circle, and we'll be like, you might be picked for, I think we do 2 or 3 chart readings, and they're like 15 minutes each. So there's a lot that can potentially come through for you on there. And we tend to pick the people that are newer, that haven't had their charts read. So if you are joining the inner circle and walking next week with us.
Or if you have something super special, like all the 3 channels defined, or, yeah. So if you have a really cool head center in some way, make sure that you do put the charts.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if you do want to join the inner circle, bit.ly/IC UYD-IC. So it's use the word community to get 50% off, and you can walk next week with us as we're wrapping up the.
Actually, this is kind of cool too, though. I want to, with it not having Facebook, you would have all the material in the academy, and you also have I think a schedule, so you don't need to have Facebook. Facebook is more the conversation, the community aspect, but all the other things and the access to Zoom and everything is
Correct.
in the academy.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Everything will be uploaded there as well. The Zoom links are there. So yeah, did anyone have was there any questions in the Q&A before we wrap up? I can't see our pictures. I can't see anything because I'm in the middle of like screen sharing, and it's like the wheel is spinning, so I see nothing. I'm just like talking to the screen. I don't really know what's happening.
Actually, did you say something about the bit.ly link?
bit.ly/ let me look to get it right. Do you want to type it? bit.ly/UYD-IC.
I don't think people can see it if I write it anywhere.
That's
Because
true.
the Q&A is only we that sees and the chat is disabled.
You can go to the academy too. You know what? Use the detective archetype and like inquire and like follow the dots and academy.unlockyourdesign.com. That takes you to our academy where the inner circle is. Or I don't know if you watch
even unlockyourdesign.com is going to take you to, you're going to be able to see the inner circle membership, I guess.
Yeah, it's at the very top. About joining the inner circle membership, it's the top of it all.
Okay, well, on the minute, it's 4:00 here. So hopefully we'll see you in the inner circle. And if not, we don't know where we're going after the 9 centers. So we'll see what's next.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to see you next week.